Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Change podcast where we introduce you to people and ideas shaping the MENA region. Today we'll be talking about the importance of talent management. My guest is Kristof Lukovich, head of digital at Chalhoub Group. Prior to Chalhoub Group, Kristof worked for Delivery Hero and Amazon. He finished MBA at Berkeley, California, passionate about unlocking growth in digital space. Kristof will be telling us more about his hard-earned experience and strategies for building the right talent that the company needs on its journey. Kristof, welcome to the Change podcast.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
I'm super happy that you're here and excited about the conversation because we had around 2 hours of pre-conversation that was already fun.
I think we should have actually recorded that. It was really good.
Probably we could pick up some good bite-sized content from there, although probably we won't publish everything because there are some sensitive topics. So today we'll be talking about the importance of talent management, which is a very important pillar of change management and transformation management and the company growth. But before we get into that topic, there is an interesting topic to discuss as well, which is the journey of Kristof to UAE, the journey of Kristof to Chalhoub Group. I know some pieces of the story that are quite fun, but I'd like you to just briefly introduce us to your way to UAE and how did you ended up in this country.
So I'm very grateful to be living in the UAE, and I got married because of the UAE, and now I have a life here. So I really appreciate it for all that I have, and I call UAE my home now. It was honestly not planned. It's one of those things that one thing led to the other. So I am a Hungarian Australian. I went to university for my law degree first in Hungary, and then through an Erasmus exchange program I went to Brussels, to the VUB. I started working there as an intern with one of my professors' company, analyzing regulatory risk for mergers and acquisitions. And then I moved back to Eastern Europe, to Hungary, where I was working as a project manager. And after 3 years, I quit and I needed a change. So I decided to get my project management certification done. So I moved to a beautiful Tuscany.
Wow.
It was a very nice time there in Italy, and I learned a lot. And then I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be challenged, and I wanted to work in a different work culture. So I was looking at companies where I would be forced to do things out of my comfort zone. And that's how I came across Avon Cosmetics. So that was kind of my first experience with beauty. And it was love at first sight, to be honest, because Avon Cosmetics, Avon was at the time the world's largest multi-level marketing company, which means that typically the sales force are not employees of the company, but they're incentivized to carry out the various campaigns and sales targets. So by being there and working on various projects, you get to kind of develop a skill set how to positively influence, encourage, motivate, stimulate, and lead people, even if there's no direct chain of command. And to me, this is really fascinating. And this kind of informal way of influencing and being a positive role model is typically what you'd see in many successful digital companies. And we can talk about that later. But at this point, I have to honestly admit, it was not part of a strategy, okay? And I love working at Avon Cosmetics, and I had an amazing boss, Daniela. And I was applying to various MBA programs and scholarships for years before that. So I was writing all the essays and submitting requests for funding, and finally one of them came through, and I got an offer to go to CU Business School. So I started that, and then I finished my MBA in Berkeley through New York, and then landed in Berkeley. And it was a great journey. I was super grateful to the people that helped me get there. I had at the time perfect GPA scores, and I got multiple scholarships, but it was a really challenging period and really stressful period to get there. Obviously, both CU and Berkeley are really good schools, and I mean the learnings were tremendous. And I met Amazon recruiter while at Berkeley. And I mean, again, it was love at first sight. I always dreamt about maybe having the chance once to work with Amazon, and they tell me, hey, come and interview with us. And I interviewed, and I got into their leadership development program. And then I started my career then post MBA in Seattle working with Amazon. And I agree with at that time my girlfriend that we would spend some time together. But after that is said and done, we need to be adults about it. So we went on with this distance kind of relationship for a year or so. And then after a year, we discussed that either she moves to the US, I move to the Middle East, or we will not be able to continue. And I said, what do? You take a chance on life. So I said, absolutely. And we kind of started looking for, opportunities in the Middle East. And then a really great opportunity came up through a friend who wanted to move to the US but was based in the Middle East, and for me based in the US wanted to move to the Middle East. So basically we're helping each other out. It was not an exchange because it was not one for one. You help your friends, and then someone down the line maybe helps you, or if not, at least you help someone. But I think it was karma that this came through, and I met a really amazing person from Rocket Internet who convinced me that I should come. And then we agreed that I would do my term here in Dubai, and I started working here. And boy, it was a cultural shock. The differences were quite significant, and I'm saying this in a positive way. It was me who was not prepared to. I mean, during your MBA, you hear about how different cultures work, and you have international management as one of your courses, and you read a lot and you do your case studies. But it's very different to be on the outside reading about it or experiencing it firsthand. So I loved working with Delivery Hero. It was very challenging. I loved pushing the results, but what I did not realize, and this was my big screw up in my first job in the region,
and that's why because I know the story. I would like you to deep dive into this story a bit more and unpack the whole learning.
Sure. Look, there's no secrets, and I speak about it openly. You have to reflect on your learning. So by focusing too much on the results, I upset some people who were working in the company, and I did not understand that there's a different way of communicating. There's a different way of listening to people. It's okay if they're a little bit late to the meeting. It's okay if there were ways of doing things that I got accustomed to that do not make you successful in the Middle East. You cannot do it. It's more focused on the relationships, and the results will come as an output of your time and effort building those relationships, but you cannot disregard that. And I disregarded it, right? So once Delivery Hero had its IPO, they told me that my position is discontinued. Because of all the projects I was working on, they asked me to stay on board as a kind of consultant to help them, and I agreed to it. And then I started figuring out, what am I going to be doing? I came here because of my, at the time, girlfriend. I made a mistake in terms of not being culturally aware. I'll take the learnings, that's great, but what's the next step in my career? And I was walking by one of the news agents in Dubai Marina, and I saw this magazine, I think it was maybe Forbes, top 100 or top 200 entrepreneurs in the Middle East, something like that. And so I got a copy, and on LinkedIn I reached out to every single one of them, and I researched the companies and who work in the companies, what are they about, what would be exciting. And the strangest thing is that most of them actually responded to me within a very short amount of time, and I was shocked by, again, culture shock, how open people were for someone they've never, met, heard, approaching them and saying, hey, let's have a coffee. I really like what your company is doing. And so I was doing that for 3 months.
Just to pause you for a second, the approach that you made, and this is an interesting topic, especially today when everyone is trying to approach companies for some opportunities and potentially a new job. Your approach wasn't just, hey, I'd like to grab a coffee with you.
No, of course not. I mean, that's not a sensible approach. There's nothing interesting for the other person. So if you see that you have nothing in common with that person, you can still shoot a message and hope for it. But if you actually actively research what they're doing and you can relate to it and you can talk about that, but put it in a meaningful context. And you can talk about yourself in a credible manner that is interesting to someone and is original. This is the key. I was original. I was myself. I didn't try to be someone else. People respond to originality. And I think, I don't want to go into the success of TikTok and right now, but if you look at TikTok, why is it successful? It's not because of the gimmicks. It's because it's original content. And that is what I think helped me. So I met these amazing people, right? I met some VCs, I met some people in private equity, I met some people at some of the conglomerates, I met most of the successful startups one way or the other, and the people behind them in the 3-month period, which was one of the most fun and at the same time like really stressful periods, because I was looking to see what my future could be. But at the same time, because I met so many inspirational people, I was every day lit and excited to who's next on my calendar, and it was really great. So many of these people became my friends, by the way. Again, originality. Like we had a good discussion, we had a coffee, maybe we had a follow up. They said, "Hey, we have a project. Do you want to have a look?" And I never, asked for money to help. Like I was like, "Dude, if you need help, like I have time. Like,
Sure.
let's." And so this kind of one thing led to the other. And of course, I was applying to various jobs, and a recruiter from Chalhoub reached out and said, "Hey, we're going through a digital transformation. We have 4 senior digital roles. One of them is for beauty. We think you'd be a good fit. Would you like to interview with our COO and head of HR for that vertical, beauty?" I said, "Yeah, I mean, why not?" So I met our COO and our head of HR for the beauty vertical, and they're amazing guys. Okay, so it was like, again, I was very lucky, super intelligent, very ethical, very honest. And in the, we had a conversation in a similar table probably as this, maybe a bit more, elaborate. But that was kind of it. We had an honest discussion, and they said, "Look, we need someone for 3 years to help us, really bridge the gap and help us capitalize on the digital opportunities we have. We know what we'd like to have roughly, but we don't know how to get there. We need someone who can get it done for us. It's going to be super difficult." And they spoke openly about the challenges, and I loved it. They were honest, and I was like, I want to work with people who are intelligent, ethical, honest, inviting. And obviously we had multiple discussions. So this, what I'm describing didn't happen in the first 5 minutes. Hi, here are our challenges. Like it was a discussions about values, what you like, so it was a good fit. And we've been like, peas in a pod with my fellow peer in HR and also our CEO. And on the spot, I went to the whiteboard and I drew a 2x2, and I said, "There's 4 things we need to discuss. First is responsibility, the first R. Second one is the results, which come from doing your responsibility right. And then the third one is the risks of not being able to deliver these results. And the fourth one is resources." I went through each of them. And I didn't think about this framework. It kind of spontaneously came out through the discussion. And we've used this every single year since in our relationship to kind of identify what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why. And we've been super successful at that. And
so you said just, and I think this is important, it's a good model: responsibility, results, risks and resources.
Yes. And in case people want to use it, I'm very happy to. I probably should have copyrighted before coming here.
Kristof.
No, I mean, look, we should all share. There's nothing new, right? You can create like frameworks as long as it's mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. Any framework can work, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was just more about like discussing it, and so I had multiple options. I had like a couple of offers through the various discussions and good ones, and I'm still in friends with those places where I said no to it. And I really wanted to work with these 2 people. So I started working there, and I was already much more aware of the Middle Eastern challenges. I had to learn an incredibly complex business model in a short amount of time, and nothing was granted in the sense that we did not have at the time a CRM team. We did not have like a built customer care, e-commerce, pure player management, product management. We didn't have these things. So we needed to figure out what our brands need and build that. But very early on, I realized that like alone, one person, doesn't matter how talented, hardworking you are, it's not enough. It's all about the team. And so we're kind of phasing into how you build a winning team, right?
Yeah. And I agree. I think this is a great intro to the topic that we're going to discuss. But before we step in, there is something that I picked up. Your life journey is amazing, and obviously you're a humble person, but there is a lot of small and big successes that you made. And you mentioned a couple of times, "I was lucky." Were you lucky, or you attracted it?
I think it goes together. So I'll tell you why I believe I was blessed. Let's call it this way. There are a lot of people who work very hard everywhere in the world. You'll find hardworking people being janitors because they didn't have the opportunity. They may be there, they couldn't study. They were born with maybe challenges or learning challenges, and their human quality is not less than mine. And so the humbleness comes from what my parents taught me, is that you treat everyone equally. You treat actually the janitor better than you treat the CEO, because everyone wants to flatter the CEO, but when is someone nice to the janitor, you know? And so I believe I am blessed because, yes, I worked hard for it, but I could have worked equally hard and not have had the same successes, and I would not have been a failure. So today we call it success, but I mean, the effort was there, and it's emotional for me because you sacrifice a lot, obviously, when you want to make something happen. The same if you study, build a business, want to get a promotion, you work hard, you put your effort and your love and your ownership, and you put everything you have into it, and sometimes it's just not enough because it didn't come together. And so can you take that? Can you take that in and then move on to the next thing and try again and keep doing it? I was able to do it, but I had a lot of support from friends and family to do that. So had I been alone, had I been coming from a different background, had I was not blessed or lucky, or, you know, way you describe it, would we maybe be sitting here talking about some of the successes that I've achieved together with my team and together with other people? Maybe not. So I think,
I think that's a wonderful answer, and it reminds me of the book Outliers. Probably you read it, and it's true. It's not only about hard work. You know, there's a lot of people out there who are putting a lot of hard work, but simply, you know, life circumstances are not giving them the opportunities to, you know, leverage on the hard work they're putting in.
And I want to go to the talent question, because this is exactly it. So when you're a recruiter or you're in HR and talent management, typically you look at the successes, but that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what you did to do that, what you did to achieve. I'm not looking at the pedigree of the company you worked for, maybe because that's an outcome. You could maybe be far more hardworking and talented than someone who was lucky, somewhere or other got into a great position and then their career skyrocketed. And because of this, I have to go through much more CVs. I have to spend much more time in hiring, but the quality of my hiring is also going to be much better. And so the things that you should be looking for is not necessarily the brand, the title, the logo, the fancy stuff. Yeah, definitely. I mean, someone who has pedigree is obviously interesting, but pedigree is not like a badge. Pedigree is inner human quality. And this is really important in the digital space, and I'll explain why. It's counterintuitive. You think that, you know, everyone who works at Google or Amazon or Microsoft, yeah, probably they're talented and smart, but maybe they're not right fit for you or your company or your project or your team. So just having the badge is not good enough. Someone who I'm coming from Harvard MBA doesn't necessarily make them the best person for that particular role. So how do you make sure that you get the right people? And that all goes down to the human experiences they had, the values they had, the journey that they had, what they had to go through, the challenges, and what qualities that they distinguish themselves through is what I'm picking up on, because the things that we do, your knowledge erodes very quickly. So the digital marketing knowledge I had 4 years ago would be heavily outdated today if I would not invest every single day and week continuously in my learning, as do my team. Now, if the knowledge erodes very quickly, does your past badge really matter? Or does the mindset that you bring to the table, that you want to get things done, you're ethical, you're hardworking, you believe that you don't put others above you, you want to work with other people and cooperate with other people, you bring the right mindset and spirit, and I'll give you a story about it. That is key differentiating factor, because those people will learn and excel. Maybe it takes a bit more time in the beginning, but once it happens, it works beautifully well. And you know, the young guns that I brought in and kind of helped in the past 3 years are now going to lead various positions in our company, and they're the next generation of digital leaders. And I'm very proud of what they've done. So it all goes down to the mindset and values. And I'll give you an example. The first hire I did was for a project, and it was a very big, I cannot tell you which one, I'm NDA'd, but it was a really important project with a super critical deadline. And I needed someone to help me on that. And I interviewed this really talented girl. It was like after 10 minutes, I knew that like it's her or no one, like she's incredibly talented. But that was not why I got interested. I wanted to test her because she said something to me. She said, "Yeah, when would you want this person?" I said, "I need it immediately, and it's a deal breaker because, like, we have to do this project." And she said, "I don't want to work for someone who would want me to break my currently existing commitment immediately to the person. I mentioned to you that my contract with that person finishes in, 20-something days. If you want me, I'm happy to join after that date. But if you now tell me it's a deal breaker, we should not be working together." And I said, "Like, you're hired. I don't care. We'll find a way." We managed to. I said, "I'll work on double until you come on board, but you're the person." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because I was testing you, and you showed to me a human character. You were resilient and honorable, even when you had a huge temptation to not be. And you respected that agreement with the other person, even though something better came along, which tells me that you will do the same for me. You'll do the same for this company that I'm trying to build up in a digital space." I said, "This is what we need." There was another girl. Again, I'm not going to tell names and stuff, sure. But she was looking for a job in the region for quite some time. We're talking more than half a year, okay? And she was flying in and out of various countries in the GCC to find opportunities, interview, and if you don't have a job here and you don't have a visa, at least it used to be the case, it used to be very difficult. So you had to fly in, fly out, spend some time outside, and she'd been doing this for quite some time on her own expense. And I asked her, like, how come you're here, like, in this interview? And she said, "Yeah, and I was sleeping on my friend's couch, but then I, in another country, and then I came here and this." And then I recall the discussion, like, some of the details I hated, but I recall this. And I said, like, "What is your situation?" She said, "Yeah, like, I was looking for a job for this amount of time. It's been quite difficult. I finally got one." And she told the company. I was like, "What is a really good company? Like, why are you even taking? We're talking about an internship position where there's no guarantee that this will, and you actually have a job offer that is fixed and paying you higher than I will be able to pay you." And she said, "That may be the case, but I know that if I work with you, I will learn more than I would in that other position, and that makes it much more sexy and appealing for me. And I'll take the risk. If you give me, I'll take the internship over the fixed job and the lower salary over the higher." I was like, "Damn, you're hired." Like, she has a growth mindset. Like, she has the right qualities. Now, obviously, if someone comes to me with the same story, after this, airs and people do this, I mean, recruiters beware. But, like, it's again being genuine, right?
Yeah.
You know the story
and
about.
You can feel that.
But you know the story about the embassy of the US in Beijing.
No.
So there's like thousands of people applying for visas to work in the US, right? And when you meet your peer in the embassy who's going to interview you for that you have to tell them why you want to go. And there was this gentleman who said a genuine story that, "Look, my father lost his left leg, and I want to learn how to do prosthetics and then learn how to 3D print it, and then I want that to be distributed and all that." And the next day, hundreds of people came with the same story because he was successful. He shared the story to help his friend, and then so again, guys, the most important thing is being genuine. If someone comes with a genuine story, I'm interested to listen because you hear the human quality come through, and you can then train these people. So we started this internship program, which is very tough, huh? Like, it is really intense, and it's not for everyone. But those who succeed are often doing great things with our company, and other companies are trying to poach these kids because they know they're really good at what they do, yeah. And they have a beautiful future in front of them, and they have some of the hottest skills. Like, they're all Snapchat certified, they all have thousands of points worth of training on Salesforce. Like, they have super sexy marketing and tech skills, and they're continuously every week and weekend they're learning and keep going. And this is something that it's either coming from the inside or it's not there at all, right? So this is why we hire for mindset and ethics and integrity. Of course, skill is important, and I love to have it, but I rather have someone who doesn't have the skill in the first 3 months, and I train them, or 6 months, and then they'll kind of make up for it with hard work and effort.
Yeah. For sure. I didn't want to interrupt you. You said a lot.
Yeah, man. Anytime, please. I talk a lot.
Covered a lot of topics, and I think the whole story is really amazing and inspiring. But you are one of a kind. There is not a lot of people with your mindset out there hiring. Now, what we are trying to answer in the Change podcast, in this topic and other topics, is what's behind it, how to do it more often, how can others do it, why is this not happening more often. So this is, and I'm 100% aligned with you. So when I'm interviewing, when I'm looking for a partner, I'm looking for the energy click. So if I feel the energy, that's a starting point. And usually most of the interviews that I do, people are shocked and surprised because we don't talk business at all on the first one. So I try to talk with them about them, to really try to understand them and meet them, because that's telling me about their life values, how they look at things, which is in today's day and age something probably more important, given the fact that the skill sets are being changed in a matter of a couple of years. What was relevant today is not going to be relevant tomorrow. So this is what you're looking for, and I'm 100% with you. Now, why do you think this kind of hiring processes and people looking for the job? So you described two stories. One,
I can give you 15 more, but
two angles. One is the angle of the one who is hiring, and the other one is the angle from someone looking for the job. And on both sides, you describe nice examples. When someone is genuinely looking for a job and the opportunity where they can grow, and when someone is looking to hire someone that they can grow with. But why do you think this is not happening more often? Why do you think 97% of cases is just a typical job description, typical interview, whether you fit into a profile or not, you're hired and that's it? And when people are looking for the job, they're just looking by uploading their CVs and that's it.
Ooh, this is a good one. So I don't know if it's 97%. So
I would say 99.
I don't know the statistics, but look, it's very hard for recruiters. It's very hard because, and it's very hard for HR people. It's very hard for talent acquisition, talent management people. I'll just stick to the thought that I shared. The rate at which skills are eroding and the complexity of some of the skills that we're talking about does not allow most HR people to stay on top of this. And in most organizations, they do not focus and specialize their recruitment on specific skills. So some companies, actually, it is the talent people's job is just setting up the interviews. It's actually the people working there that do the interviews. So I had a really great experience at Amazon, where it was some of the brilliant, talented leaders in Amazon.com that were interviewing, young guns from Berkeley, and they were challenging us and pushing us. But there's a reason for it, because these people are in the trenches every day with their teams. They know what to look for, and they could spend days or weeks explaining it to someone in HR or talent management, but they will not necessarily get it. So there's this disconnect between a fast-paced environment where people are forced to continue to do it, and typically HR people have so much on their plate that they don't necessarily have the capacity to do it all the time for every single role. And I'll add to it, and I'm very empathetic about their problems. I have a lot of recruiter friends. They tell me that they open up a position and within an hour they get like hundreds, if not thousands of applicants, and some of them don't even read the criteria for applying, right? Now, there's another side of this story that companies want people who have 20 years of e-commerce experience, which simply does not exist, because I would like to remind people that in year 2000, it was the Sydney Olympics. We're still using Nokia phones that lasted us 2 weeks without a charge, and people were really scared to pay online. So, look at what is the first iPhone, 2006, 7? I'm just,
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So there are very few people globally who have 20 years of e-commerce experience. So a middle-sized company in the Middle East asking for 20 years of e-commerce experience is not going to find the right people, and it's going to get flooded. So you have to manage the expectations. You have to be empathetic about your recruitment team, and that needs to work very closely with the people that actually are going to be doing the hiring. They need to be heavily involved from the start, and that requires managers to be able to tell their bosses, I'm sorry, I can't attend this meeting or project because I'm hiring. Give me space. I need to spend 4 hours today on hiring.
Wow, that's a big one, yeah.
That's a big one, right? And so those leaders, for example, my COO said to put in as many hours as you want. You're building the pipeline of future talent for the organization. If you need time, tell me. Like, we'll deprioritize something else. This needs to be perfect. And so it's also a leadership approach, right? That you make sure that if you are the number one or number two in a company, or in the top comics of your group, you tell your team that every single leader's job is to create the next generation of leaders, and that is your priority, and be held accountable for that. So I don't think it's necessarily the recruiter's fault, and I'm probably many recruiters will cheer when they hear this, and rightfully so. There's a lot that each side needs to do, but it's not that one side is responsible for this whole phenomenon. Now, I would like to believe that many people do the way we are hiring, and definitely some companies came to us and said, "Hey, we heard about your successes. Can you tell us what you guys did?" And we shared. There's no secrets here, right? This is this is a real fun part of the work, right? Like meeting amazingly talented young kids and figuring out their future and how you can help them or not, and how they can fit in. It's so exciting. Like, why wouldn't anyone want to do this?
Having the opportunity that you have to build the kind of the team that you've built is I don't want to say it a luxury, because you build this kind of the environment, but having the freedom to do hiring like that is influenced by a lot of moving parts. So you need to have the trust from the leadership, you need to cooperate with your HR, there needs to be understanding, long-term vision, etc., etc. So it's not that easy to get into a hiring process like that.
I make it sound super smooth, but let's just say that when you build something, building is not super smooth. Mm-hmm. You have to prove yourself. You have to prove that what you're doing, if it's that drastically different than what the organization has, each organization has a healthy self-defense mechanism. Just like the human body, you introduce something else, it's going to reject it. You have to prove it every single day, every single hour, that what you're doing is right. And yes, you will step on people's toes, and yes, you will have enemies for doing things differently. That is true for any transformation, any change management. That you go to any company, anywhere in the world, you introduce something different, there's going to be a lot of fear, concerns, loss of power, challenging the status quo, but this process works for us, the process keeps us safe. Like, these are normal reactions. This is not like from the devil. This is normal human behavior. If you prove yourself, you invite others to be a part of your success, that's different. That's a game changer. So yes, I agree with you, but I don't think that anyone should be afraid to do their job. If you're afraid to do your job, you're not able to do your job, which means you will not have your job, whether you leave because you want to, or you'll be asked to kind of leave, or whichever, or you just fall sick because you can't internally digest it. If you're afraid to make the tough decisions that you need to be successful in your role, you should not be in that role. And this is harsh, but this is one of the kind of challenges that countries that have limitations in terms of mobility have, right? Because imagine a country where labor law allows you to kind of move quickly, freely, and that is a dynamic market. And I know the leadership of the UAE is doing a great job at kind of facilitating and accelerating this mobility between companies and making it easier for talent to switch jobs and really kind of build the hub that Dubai is destined to be in the digital space. And it's a work in process. It's getting better and better. It's getting more and more easy for people to do that, which will kind of attract more talent. But the more difficult it is for people to switch jobs, the less likely they will be to challenge the status quo.
Yeah. Talent management plays an important role of a company's transformation, and majority of the companies in one way or another over the previous 5-10 years and going forward are transforming in some shape. There is without mentioning digital transformation now as a term that nobody really likes anymore, but it's a transformation. And talent management plays, if not the most important, it plays a super important role, right? And I agree with you that everyone should do their job, and hiring is a part of that job. But, and I hate to use the word but,
but there's a big but coming.
But the environment in which you are supposed to deliver and do your job is not really allowing you to do your job.
Then you should resign and leave. If that's the reality. So if you're not able to, there will be always jobs that are static, right? Like an airline pilot cannot reinvent his job, or neither can a neurosurgeon. The majority of the jobs are not like that. You can always make suggestions saying, hey, have you guys thought about doing this differently? If you go to a manager and say, we have a process, we're losing X million dollars or opportunity or incurring these costs because of this. Here's what I would suggest to make it happen. Can we have a discussion about this? The majority of the managers will at least be open to listening to what you have to say. Now, maybe they'll say no to it. Maybe we'll take, 5 ideas, 10 ideas. But I don't believe that you cannot contribute effectively to the organization and you cannot find a way. In even the most rigid organization, you can find that. And there are case studies about that, how you can positively make change. But obviously, as you said, transformation is something that will have to be going through, since there are dynamic changes and you cannot have very monolithic, archaic structures of groups or companies, because they'll simply not be successful in the continuously changing landscape. So you have to evolve, you have to transform, and HR is one of the biggest pieces. People like to talk. If you go on LinkedIn, you'll see a lot of articles about technology, and apps and like all this cool stuff. You'll talk a lot about processes and tools and robots and AI, and you'll hear but you seldom hear people talk about how to improve corporate culture, how to address pain points. And pain points exist in every single organization, simply because each coin has two sides. So if you gear yourself to be great at something, that also means you need to compromise on something else, which the question is, maybe you had to be great at one thing, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but that may not necessarily be the same thing you need to be great in 3 years from now or 5 years from now. And so how do you become great at that without losing who you are? And you look at successful models, and I'm going to say Amazon again because I love the place. I was brainwashed. I love them. They are great at innovation because they decentralize innovation. Every single person who works there can have an idea, and they have this special way to do it. And I don't want to go into it. It's not about Amazon, but they found their own way of enabling every single person who has a brilliant idea, whether it's a new venture, an optimization, to pitch it to their own teams. And if the team supports it, it goes up the chain and it gets support and it gets done, and you become product manager for a great idea or new business unit. But how does your organization find that? Do you want to really centralize everything under a couple of people and create a bottleneck, or are you actually wanting to drive a culture where people are open to learning, open to doing things differently, dare to challenge the status quo? But that all goes down again to culture. You need to set examples, you need to set rules, you need to create the right framework for people to operate in. And so you can do this on a micro level. Like, I'm sure that many people who will be listening to this can think, hey, what can I do in my team tomorrow that will be a little bit different? Maybe as a leader, I can make them coffee. Maybe, I can ask my team members to come with ideas to our next team meeting about what they think is the biggest pain point for our customer. These are this conversation. We're not harming, any political power in any organization. You start these discussions, amazing ideas will pop up, and there's going to be a saving or a revenue uplift associated to it. And you're going to go for it,
I guess that the reason why you don't see that more often, let's say, is some kind of lack of motivation to do something like that. You're getting in and out of your job. Days are passing, weeks are passing, years. You're switching jobs, but why do you think there is no more motivation to act like that?
So it's again one of those things where it's complicated because I don't think there's one reason for it. So people, I think genuinely most people are enthusiastic. Maybe they start doing their job, but and they burn out, or maybe they never had that enthusiasm. The solution is different, right? Imagine yourself. You have ideas that you work on for a week, okay? You share it with your manager, and it says, no, this is complete. I'm not going to say it's not. We're not talking about it. That's it. Thank you. And you do it once, twice, 3 times, and you stop doing it. You don't why am I hitting myself against the wall? This goes to the quality of leadership, right? The quality of hiring. What type of people are you hiring? People that will have great ownership, who will treat the company as their own.
What kind of leaders are you hiring?
Exactly. So if you have terrible leaders in your organization that don't care about the organization, that don't care about the people in the organization, that will facilitate a bad culture, and people will be scared. They'll, as you said, buy their time, 1 year, 2 year, 3, move on to the next thing, and in the meantime the corporation will collapse. Whereas if you have great leaders, they'll challenge the status quo. They'll fight for their people to bring up great ideas and suggest. They'll put hundreds of initiatives in place and make it run. And some of them win, some of them not. But this again comes to culture, because you need to be comfortable talking about the failures of doing something differently. And people don't like to do that. And in general, people shy away. The US is great, because in the US people talk about shortcomings. I mean, they say, look, I went bankrupt on my first startup. I had to take a loan. I moved back to my parents' place. Then I did my other one. I met these friends. It didn't work out. It's continuously going and moving and admitting shortcomings and learning from it. But if at an organizational level you're not admitting to the shortcomings, then you're not learning from the mistakes. You're repeating it continuously, and that's drilling out the right people to leave one way or the other.
And it's absolutely beautiful how you repeated the same sentence that I heard in our previous podcast about difference between the two business environments, one in US and one in some other parts of the world. Where in US they're embracing failure. It's okay. I mean, I failed, I went back home, and there's numerous stories about these, phenomenal entrepreneurs who went back home,
Yeah.
And I went back home and I started my new business, new venture. And I think that can be seen here and in other parts of the world where failure is not really accepted. Failure is not cool. So you better don't fail or don't talk about your failures, right? I want to talk about your example. There is a lot of theory out there. How things should be done, and there is a lot of people that talk about how culture should be changed, or how innovation happens, or what's the process behind it, or how do you digitally transform. But not a lot of people with success stories behind successfully implementing those strategies or processes and so on. And you have your own small or big or medium success story that you've been through, and it started by a good interview that you had when you were joining Chalhoub Group.
Yes.
And it clicked, and they hired a good leader.
Because the CEO and the HR person that was there are amazing quality people.
Which is wonderful. Which led you to have the freedom to do your own hirings.
I had to prove. No, I was not given full reins from.
And
day one.
I would like you to explain me that whole story a bit more. So from the moment you got hired to today, when you build your team of around how many? 20?
So there's two things I need to mention. Is how do you build the culture? I'll give an example.
Mm-hmm.
I have a junior. Mm-hmm. She's a very talented, very strong values girl. She made a mistake. She thought she's going to get fired for it. I don't fire people for mistakes. I fire for unethical conduct. I don't tolerate that. I fire for shitty behavior. Can we edit that down? I fire for poor behavior.
Sorry, can we edit this as well? My laugh, say it again.
Yeah, so look, she was scared that she's going to get fired for making a mistake. I do not behave like that. There are reasons where you need to exit people, which should be ethical or behavioral, but making a mistake should not be. And she was terrified, even on the verge of not being comfortable telling me, but because she trusted me so much, because of I've proven myself. I don't just say things, I actually walk the talk. I always am consistent in what I do with them. He told me in person what the mistake was, and I told her, why are you worried? And she was the one trying to explain to me why she should be worried. She was trying to convince me. And I told her, look, mistakes will happen. How many 100 things you've done that are great this year, you made a mistake, which tells me you're not making enough mistakes. It's like, what? You need to make mistakes. You can't do everything 200% perfect. There's a time where if you have to compromise, otherwise it will go into your execution. Yeah, if you're a brain surgeon, you need to execute 100% correct. But whether your marketing campaign is set up and for 2 days it's not optimum, you can recover that. That's not an issue. But if you do not have the internal drive to experiment, you will not get the big wins. So you need to have the hits, right? And you have to have the losses as well, but you need to speak your losses. And I told her, the way you make this up is, first thing first, calm down. Everything is fine, don't worry, okay? Second is, I want you to reflect on this, what you could have done differently. And once you have it, I want you to share it with the team as a learning. and she was very much against in the beginning to share publicly her shortcoming, but I convinced her to do it. She shared it, and because of what she did, the whole team learned from that one experience, which then encouraged other people to do the same. So instead of people covering up mistakes and problems and issues, they would come to me, and they know they have the bat phone. They can call me and tell me something is wrong, we need to fix it. We jump on it, we figure out how to solve it, we share the learnings with the team, and we move on. And because of this, we never repeat mistakes. We learn from each other. We share this, and so going back to your point about I was given the full freedom to do what, no, not at all. Okay, so when I was hired as more of a consultant to help facilitate, and then we realized that just telling people what they should be doing is not as impactful as actually training them, teaching them, and doing it with them, and taking accountability. As a consultant, I would be accountable for the truth of what I say, but not the outcome. Whereas, as very smart CEO that I have, said, we need the outcomes. Can you please, step up your game? I said, fine. This is what I've been waiting for. Like, tap me in. And so that's when we started hiring the right teams, and my responsibilities gradually grew. So in the beginning, my scope was smaller than it is, in 2020, because I built up the trust through results and conduct, and through the people that I hired, and then they hired, and kind of it grew. So it wasn't like I stepped into it and like everything was provided. That's why I'm saying that I had to prove myself and build the trust every day with each project and each initiative and action. Every single person can do the same. I don't believe I'm special. Building trust through honest action, hard work, and great ideas is something that is open to most of us today. Like, this does not require luck. This is something you can do. And then whether you have the right boss or not, and whether you want to stay with that boss, especially have the freedom and flexibility in labor law to now move to other places, that's actually great, because guess what will happen? Talented people do not want to work for B or C level people. They want to work for A people because they want to learn. They want someone who harnesses their talent and helps them get them to the next level. And so if one of my team members say, hey, I feel that you've not challenged me enough in the past week, that's when I'm concerned and bothered. Like, okay, dude, let's do more for you, because I want them to grow, right? And I want to get to the point where they outrun me. And so that is the mindset, and that's a leadership mindset that you need to have. That I want the kids to be faster, better, harder at everything that I can do tomorrow, immediately. But it doesn't happen immediately, so you build it up. And but look, this is individual. It's not, there's not like a typical framework that you can provide, and this is the secret sauce, and read my book because like whatever, like there's a reason I'm not writing a book about it, because you can't. It's individual. Like the way you would unlock your talent or his talent or her talent is going to be very different than how you'd unlock mine. And so you need to meet the right people, you need to have the right leaders, and so talent will naturally gravitate to the right people and will gravitate away from the wrong people. So if you see an organization where talented people are leaving, that's a sign that something is not right. If you see that people are coming and are asking to work for that person and are willing to take salary hits and working on salaries that are 50% lower than market rate just for the privilege to learn from that person, then you know that you have the right people in the place.
Wow, that was a powerful message, and I completely, 100% aligned, 100%. Look, I don't want to continue any further because I think you left a very big impact on anyone who was listening, but I want to end up with one last question, and that would be, if you have the chance to send across one message from this podcast now to the audience and to anyone who is listening out there hiring or looking to get hired, what would that be?
Well, if it's one message, I want to thank my team for everything that they've done and given me. So that's the first one, if it's one message. If it's for the people that are looking at talent management, it all goes to the outcome that you want. Having a hiring is not ticking a box. So you should not hire. If hiring a person is just to tick a box, something is wrong. You're hiring because you want to better the organization. You want to improve the culture, you want to improve the performance. That means that sometimes you need to look at people who are completely different than what you have today, and you need to be bold enough in those positions, in those leadership positions, to say, no, we need that weird kid who's completely different. We need that person who may be odd or doing things differently, but actually if you want change, that's the right talent to look for. So don't be afraid to find the round pegs. Don't be afraid to find people who are really talented but maybe a bit misfits. Everyone can learn and adopt. And honestly, I'm really grateful to my HR lead, because he helped me a lot to also be successful in the cultural context that I was working with. So thank you to them, and good luck to everyone hiring talent. And also I'm happy to help anyone. I by the way, volunteer. So on my LinkedIn, I actually have a comment that, because there's so much BS around this whole topic of digital, I actually spend some of my time on the weekends to help, and there's no strings attached, full NDA, and I just recommend to people what they can or could not do. So happy to help anyone who wants to build a great team.
Make sure to leave the comment below and ask any questions and reach out to Kristof. Kristof, thank you so much for coming. It was a wonderful episode. I enjoyed it. I completely lost the track of time. I hope that you enjoyed the episode as well, and that you feel pumped as I do. I hope that Kristof inspired you to act and to chase your feeling, and to do what's really inside of you, to be who you are, and to act on your dreams. If you like what we're doing here with the Change Podcast, please like and subscribe, leave us comments and any feedback. We'll be happy to respond. Kristof, thanks one more time for coming.
Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
See you next Monday. Bye.